Let's go over every time that Xena and Gabrielle lock lips on the show Xena Warrior Princess, the original sapphic show of the 90s that even 30 years later, and even though they walked a thin line between subtext and main text, is still the best and most epic sapphic love story on a TV show, in my opinion. I'll give you not only the on-screen context, but the behind-the-scenes intel so that you can fully appreciate the moments. I'll also go over that time that Xena and Gabrielle were meant to kiss and didn't. The love story between Xena and Gabrielle started off slow. You could even call it a slow burn. For the first season or so, it's about establishing the characters and establishing the dynamics between Xena and Gabrielle.
It's hard to be alone.
You're not alone.
While I think that Xena had feelings for Gabrielle immediately, I think it took Gabrielle more time. After all, she was an innocent girl from a small village who knew she was different.
I don't belong there, Xena. I'm not the little girl that my parents wanted me to be.
Had that undeniable urge to explore the world.
You've got to take me with you and teach me everything you know. You can't leave me here.
And so she hardly knew herself. Her story on Xena is a coming-of-age story and about stepping into her own power. Part of that is realizing her sexuality. As Stephen L. Sayers, one of the writers and co-executive producers, said in an interview,
so when Perdiccas comes in, she's questioning a lot of things, and she thinks, okay, now I'm questioning where I am and why I'm here. So I'm running home to Mama because Perdiccas represents my childhood, my past, my village. She's looking right at the woman who is her destiny, and she's saying, I'm scared of you because of what you're going to reveal about me.
So essentially, Gabrielle was working through some comp head, and it led her to go into the arms of Perdiccas, the boy she grew up with and was supposed to marry before she ran away with Xena. It's clear that Gabrielle's decision to marry Perdiccas is not welcome news to Xena, but Xena also wants the best for Gabrielle.
Seeing you happy will make me happy. And if that means settling down with Perdiccas, then you have my blessing.
And so on her wedding day, she pulls her aside to say goodbye, and it seems like a spur-of-the-moment decision. She leans in to give Gabrielle a peck on the lips.
Oh my God! I was like, what happened? I don't remember that. You know,
Xena slipped to the tongue.
Where did that come from?
What's going on there?
What the?
Oh, this is
How can?
Okay.
So now I understand. I get it now. I mean, what were we thinking? Of course.
I can't imagine why people thought there was subtext in this.
It's followed by a hug with a look on Xena's face where she looks positively devastated. It's a gesture that could be written off as friendly, for sure, and given Gabby was in full gay panic mode, and by her response to this unexpected behaviour, that is how she decides to roll with it. But the other kisses on this list are definitely not just friendly. It's not long after that Xena finds herself in mortal danger. Well, actually, she dies from internal injuries and finds herself in a space between life and the afterlife. Gabrielle is overcome with grief, but determined to escort Xena's body back to lie with her brother Lycius, as it was requested in the episode The Greater Good, when her life was in danger for the first time.
I know it's not your time. I just feel this emptiness that I've never known before, and it scares me. This world needs you. I need you.
Xena, hearing Gabrielle's thoughts, decides that she must find a way to return to her body, and so she enlists the help of her friend, the King of Thieves, Autolycus, to find out where there is ambrosia and to get her body to it so she can be revived. At one point, she takes over Autolycus's body in order to talk to Gabrielle.
Close your eyes. Close them tightly and think of me.
Gabrielle is visibly overcome.
Why did you leave? There's so many things I want to say to you.
Xena, having been privy to all of Gabrielle's thoughts, know what it is she has to say, and so she uses a shorthand to communicate.
Gabrielle will always be here.
The shorthand is a kiss. Now, of course, just before their lips lock, we cut away to Autolycus's body kissing Gabrielle, but the way Gabrielle pulls back and blinks up at him, the meaning is clear and simple.
Well, I hope you two worked things out.
We did.
This is very much a kiss between Xena and Gabrielle. A delightful fact about this kiss is that the way in which this moment came about wasn't even about them having a kiss.
So that scene, believe it or not, started off with RJ wanting to get to the joke, your hand is on my butt.
Amazing. I love it.
That's where a lot of this stuff happens. It's kind of like, wouldn't it be funny if you did this? And then you realize, okay, how do we make it believable? How do you make it substantial? How do you make it mean something?
Which is not that dissimilar to how we got Xena and Gabrielle sharing a bathtub in the next episode, A Day in the Life.
Studio executives, if they wanted something, they would trust you. They would turn to you and they would say, can you give a little more titillation? Because we like that. That helps give us more titillation. But they wouldn't tell us to do it. They wouldn't say, this is how you do it. They wouldn't say, redesign the costume so her boobs pop out. But they would just leave it to us. And so we would say, oh, this scene where they're in the tavern talking about these really intense things that are going on in their life, we'll put it in a hot tub. And that actually is how the hot tub tradition began, because we thought, well, that makes it titillating, and yet we lose nothing from the story, and it actually is kind of a bonding thing. So, put it in there.
Yeah. Gotta love how the universe conspired to give us such gayness without it ever being so consciously thought out. And yet it works so beautifully with a sapphic reading, which I have gone over in depth in my theory on when Xena and Gabrielle got together. Link to that video in the title cards. I do believe the network put pressure on the show to tone down the lesbian activity after that, and so it was some time before Xena and Gabrielle locked lips again. This next one is another body swap scenario, so I don't imagine it's the most popular of the kisses we got. However, it is still very much worth noting, because here, Xena and Gabrielle don't just kiss, they end up married, as we'll find out in Season 6, Soul Possession. If that sounds confusing, it's because this is one of the modern day episodes where the reincarnated souls of Xena, Gabrielle, and Joxa reunite in 90s USA. It's a clips episode, which the show always found interesting and inventive ways to do them, and here the trio are undergoing hypnotherapy in order to discover their past lives. Only Joxa is in a body that looks a lot like Xena, and Xena is in a body that looks a lot like Joxa, while Gabrielle gets to keep her body. By the end of the episode, they've realized who is who, and Xena and Gabrielle close out the episode with a kiss. Only of course it looks heterosexual because of the bodies they're in, giving flavors of the kiss from the quest. The show had to be a bit creative, I guess. The interesting thing is that this kiss wasn't in the original script, but according to Wish.org, Renee O'Connor, who was making her directorial debut, decided to add it in.
And I think a lot of people were angry about that. I mean, how come Xena and Gabrielle on the show can't kiss, but because she's in a man's body, then suddenly it's all right?
Which is a fair comment, why indeed. But also at the same time, I thought it quite a stroke of genius to subvert a heteronormative narrative. I think it shows how much of an ally Renee is for the LGBTQ+ community with this decision, so total respect. The next time for our ladies was all the way in Season 6 at the end of the Rheingold trilogy. The setup for this takes things far beyond the other times we've just discussed, because it's clearly framed in a romantic context. Even more so, it's framed as Xena and Gabrielle being soulmates. Xena has journeyed to the land of the Nords to right a wrong from long ago, where she had stolen the Rheingold from the maidens who protected it. With it, she forged a powerful ring that when worn, if the wearer had not forsaken love, they would lose that which mattered most to them. Forced to wear the ring, and not having forsaken love, Xena forgets who Gabrielle is and who Gabrielle has helped her to become over the years, and until she is able to regain her sense of self, a young Valkyrie who has fallen in love with Gabrielle sacrifices herself to become an eternal flame that only her soulmate can pass through to protect Gabrielle and the ring, causing Gabrielle to fall into a deep sleep. When Xena returns a year later, still unaware of who Gabrielle is, but, having visions of her because their connection is so strong, she is drawn to Gabrielle's side, and to wake Gabrielle from her magical sleep, kisses her. She is her soulmate. It is with this kiss that all of her memories come flooding back. I don't know too much about the behind-the-scenes context of this kiss, so do share if you've got any intel, but it is, of all of them, the most unequivocal. The kiss happens because Xena, even with her memory gone, is drawn to Gabrielle as if by a greater power, and this whole setup makes direct reference to the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale where the prince awakes her princess with a kiss. Not too many ways that this can be read. The last of the kisses is in the final episode, by which time there is no doubt about who these ladies are to each other.
If I only had 30 seconds to live, this is how I'd want to live them. Looking into your eyes.
I mean, Xena goes around introducing Gabby as her soulmate and looking at her like she fell out from the heavens. Having travelled to the land of Japa, where Xena had, in her grief for the loss of a girl she fell in love with, Akemi, burnt down a town many years ago, damning tens of thousands of souls unless revenge is extracted, Xena finds herself on Mount Fuji fighting a tyrannical ghost that she must defeat in order to avenge these deaths. She needs to get to the magical fountain of water on the mountain to regain her strength, but for a moment it seems like she has been beaten. That is, until Gabrielle, with no other means of transport, takes a mouthful of the water, and to transfer the water presses her mouth to Xena's. Only it's not just a simple transfer, not in the way the moment is executed, nor in the way it was filmed. It goes into an extreme close-up. It's in slow motion. Soft music plays as the lips linger. Rob Tappert, the executive producer, by his own admission, didn't want to film this.
All right. You girls made me shoot this. I didn't want to.
So once again, thanks to Renee and also to Lucy, who understood that this moment was important to be included. A finale couldn't exist without them kissing in some way. I would argue that they could, as it was the final episode, have gotten a proper kiss in. They had nothing left to lose, but hey, better than nothing, especially given the ending. Now, before continuing to the kiss that should have been but wasn't, I want to mention that I am, as you might be able to tell, something of a Xena fan. I've made a number of videos about them on this channel, and I have also been doing a very gay episode by episode video podcast deep dive of the show on my Patreon. I've just finished up with the rift between our gals in season 3, and so there is still a lot of juicy episodes to come. In addition to the podcast, there are bonus videos on my non-Xena related Sapphic content and a database of all Sapphic content that I've covered on my YouTube channel with handy links to each video review so that you can decide if it's something you'd like to check out. So onto the kiss that should have been, and it was in none other than the incredibly romantic episode of When Fates Collide. We find ourselves in an alternate universe where Xena was not betrayed by Caesar and therefore did not turn evil and becomes his empress of Rome, and Gabrielle never met her and became a celebrated bard. When Gabrielle puts on a play that mirrors the story of when Xena and Gabrielle died and Xena moved the heavens to make sure Gabrielle didn't remain in hell, Empress Xena is very much taken with the story and with the bard. Caesar, who orchestrated this change in their fates, jealously watches on and decides to get rid of Gabrielle to secure this timeline. Only things begin to unravel.
I write about love, but I've never felt it before.
And through it, we essentially get to see Xena and Gabrielle fall in love. A kiss in this story would have been entirely appropriate, and it was written.
You attempted to kiss me, weren't you, Red? Right
Yeah,
there.
you were looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Was there a kiss in this?
There was a kiss written here, but nobody ever planned to shoot it. So it was written, but you can tell the writer one time, we're not going to film that kiss, and then they keep writing it and go, well.
So my question is why? Why was it written but never intended to be filmed? We were robbed, I tell you. Robbed. Until next time, lady lovers.